I was just reading A Course in Miracles and had this moment where it hit me that, oh, I'm just telling myself a story with all of my thoughts. Like, that's all my thoughts are. It's just a running story that's just been going on and on and on. Just rumbling, just like a low hum. I've called it before, just like, and it just goes on and 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 on to the point that eventually it just becomes expected. It just becomes background noise. It's just part of the scenery. You ever have a AC unit in your window? I have one for the first time, and when that thing's running, man, it's just like. Sorry, I shouldn't annoy you with the sound. You can imagine if you've never heard. It gets annoying. It's very loud. It's kind of overpowering is the only thing you can focus on. But give it like an hour or so, and you learn to tune it out. Like, you can go about your day. You can exist in that space without that fan overtaking every thought. It just kind of is there, and it is felt whether consciously or not. But then once it goes away, like I had to turn it off to record this video. Once it goes away and the silence returns, or the sounds of the rest of the room outside return, it's like, oh wow, I forgot just how good the peace of silence feels. That's something I've noticed with when you do breath work, when you are inhaling and exhaling, and like that's all you're hearing is just the sound of your own voice. Very similarly, once you begin a retention where it's just only silence, that silence returns. Oh my goodness, it's like you almost get jump scared by like the peacefulness. That's how my thoughts are. Like, there's times where I'm fully in the moment, fully present, and it's like I turned the AC unit of my mind off, and it's just still silence. Again, finally, returning to the way things are and always have been. But never for long. Eventually, something comes and it's like, well, no, I'd rather be a bit cooler right now. So the AC unit goes back on, and then you just kind of on edge a little bit more because you think that the coolness will bring you the comfort you really want. I'm telling myself a story with these thoughts. That's all I'm ever doing, is just telling myself a story. And on some level, regardless of how many times I remember where I came from and how blissful that feels, how perfect that feels, I always come back to see what's going on this week in the story, you know? They've got me hooked. I gotta know what happens next, even if it's not entertaining. I've talked in other videos before how I like pro wrestling. I've been watching it since probably 2005. And after like 20 years of watching it on a basically weekly basis, it just becomes something that like you don't even think about. You just know you're going to keep up with, whether or not it's good or not. Like, there have been many years where I was not enjoying any of the stories going on. Like, it felt like a chore a lot of the time. But I had to do it. I had to do it. So I'd be watching like 4 hours, sometimes 5, a week of this story I was not enjoying. that no one was making me watch. Like, I didn't really have wrestling friends for a lot of it. Like, there's been times in my life where I've had wrestling friends, but a lot of the time it's just been me watching the story, and I'm the only one in my orbit I know that is even aware of it, that could even keep up, like, that I could talk about this with. And I'm spending like 5 hours a week dedicated to this thing that just serves this itch somewhere in me, for better or worse. And that's just what all my thoughts are, man. It's this story I've been telling myself for even longer than 2005. This story that's just been going on for seemingly forever. And oh, when they get you that early, you're hooked. You gotta know what's gonna go on next. Like, you've been following this character for so long. Like, there's these storylines that seem like they're leading to this kind of thing, and you want to stick around to see the payoff or make the payoff happen. That's often what occurs because you get what you want. At your deepest level, you get what you want. And in that way, if you've been telling yourself a story and a certain payoff is supposed to happen, if you think it's going to happen, it probably will. At least in my experience, you get whatever you really think you deserve. When you cut the bullshit with yourself, what you really think you deserve is what you receive. Because that's your will. That is your shared will with what is. And you have free will, so you can choose whatever you want. If you don't like the story, you can learn how to not need to tune in next week. But you also need to show up for the lessons, you know? You actually need to put in the work because, like, at least on some level, when I relate this to wrestling, like, I don't really care that much. Like, I truly don't care that much at all. Yet I can't say here with any sincerity that I could just give it up. Not yet. You get whatever you think you want, or whatever you truly want. Whatever, like, deep down your thoughts desire is what you will get. I love the story of my life so much. And I'm so attached to certain aspects of it. You can't participate in reality while you're telling yourself a story. In one of my other videos, I was talking about how, like, if you're doing a task like washing the dishes, but you're also just thinking the whole time, because so often I find in my life that regardless what I'm doing, I'm also thinking, trying to figure out something. Sometimes it's important, sometimes it's not. Most of the time, it's not. But, like, on top of most activities I'm doing, I'm also thinking about something else that's not happening in front of me, which means that I can't. My ability to do something like wash the dishes is diminished. I'm going to act slower. I'm not really going to, like, be moving a lot because there's going to be times where I'm just, like, stuck on a thought and just not moving. You can't give 100% of your effort, and it shows in your actions. But also, the same applies to you trying to work that thought out. At least I can speak for myself to say I never really figure it out while I'm doing something else. Like those thoughts never come to a natural conclusion while mid activity. There's always more to think about, there's always more to remember. The only way I really find that I can stop those thoughts, that I can come to a place where I'm willing to give up that story, is when I sit down and dedicate my full attention to figuring out whatever it is that's running on in my head, not letting the hum of that AC unit just like in the background. Bring it to the front and say, okay, what are you talking about? What can I help you with? Let's figure this out. And when you do that, when I do that, so often the response I get is, "Oh man, it wasn't really that important. Go, you don't need to worry about this." And then immediately you can just give it up, you know? That almost always. Very rarely are any of my thoughts that important. Very few. So often it's just stories I tell myself. Only for me. Only for me. Peace.